What are y'all? This DJ Illmatic back once again, coming at you live and direct, straight from my crib, USA. Daily Operation, episode 26. Here to chop it up with you about all the goings on in the gaming world today. Electric relaxation. I spent the past week devoted to Borderlands 2 as part of the Handsome Collection on my PlayStation 4. And I have to say that I missed out on Borderlands 2 originally. Now, I bought it when it originally launched on the 360, but one of, if not, well, really my only vice is video games, and so I buy way more games than I can ever complete, and so games more often, well, not more often than not, but more often than they should, can get lost in the shuffle with me, and Borderlands 2 was one of those games. I'm not sure if something came out right before it launched or right after it launched, but for whatever reason, I only played Borderlands 2 when it originally launched for a couple of hours and never went back to it. And that would have been a travesty because Borderlands 2 is an all-time great game. Now, I'm not telling you, most people already know this. I'm not telling you anything new, but I didn't know this. I'd heard a lot of buzz about the game. Of course, I've heard all the rave reviews, but I just never went back to it. And so one of the benefits of these remastered collections is you get a chance to right those previous wrongs. And luckily for me, I got a chance to play through Borderlands 2 because this is an all-time great game. This is definitely a classic game. I thoroughly enjoyed my time playing Borderlands 2. This game is amazing. The story is not really the story, but the characters within that story are really what carry this game. It has some very memorable, very enjoyable characters in this game. Claptrap, of course, is always a very enjoyable character. But Handsome Jack is probably one of the best video game villains of all time. I really enjoyed interacting with him throughout the game. And so these characters and the other characters throughout the game also help carry the story, help carry the game, make it a very enjoyable experience. Of course, Borderlands is known for all its weapons, and Borderlands 2 does a great job as well with all the weapons, and it makes you, the loot system within Borderlands is really what keeps you going. You always want to keep going to try to find that newer gun or that better shield, and the variety of the guns is really great as well because it forces you to make choices. You may find a new gun that does slightly less damage than the old one you're using, but it has a higher elemental chance, and so you have to make these decisions. And so just going out and finding all this loot, trying to find this rare loot, is the big draw of the game and really keeps you hooked into playing this game hour after hour after hour. The environments were varied enough for me that I really enjoyed that as well. Also played through all the DLC. Really enjoyed the DLC. I was very impressed with the DLC, and in terms of how impressive it was for DLC. Now, of course, I'm playing it all as a collection, but if I would have played this DLC when it came out piecemeal, I would say that this is how DLC is supposed to be done. The DLC is very meaty. There's a lot of side missions to do, a lot of story missions, and so for DLC, there's a lot of content there. And so I was very impressed with that. My really only complaints about Borderlands 2, one is one of my complaints for the series as a whole, and that is whenever you open a chest or a locker, you have to actually hit a button to pick up the ammo or the money. I wish that you would automatically pick up ammo and money because, of course, you always want as much money as you can. You're never going to say, no, I don't want that money, leave it there. Same thing for bullets. You're always going to want as much ammo as you can hold. And so, of course, I'm going to pick it up. And so, please, in Borderlands 3, I really hope that if you open a chest and there's money or bullets there, that you automatically pick it up without having to hit a button. It's a minor gripe, but when you play hour after hour of this game and all of the chests that are there, it becomes very tedious to constantly have to hit this button to choose to pick up this ammo or choose to pick up this money. Of course I want it, so let me automatically pick it up. Now I understand having to hit a button to choose to pick up a shield or a gun or something of that nature because you have limited space in your backpack, and so you might not want to pick up this gun because it's not better than what you have and it's not worth a lot of money, so you'd want to leave that there. And so when it comes to guns and shields, I like the fact I have to make a decision whether to pick it up or not, but when it comes to money and ammo, give me all I can hold, and so just automatically let that basically sponge into my character instead of having to actually hit a button every time. And another complaint I had about the DLC specifically, and primarily the Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon's Keep DLC, the difficulty was ramped up extremely high very quickly. And compared to the original game, the difficulty was much higher. Whereas in Borderlands 2, the original game, when a recommended level for a quest, if I was 2 or 3 levels ahead above the recommended level for a quest, it was very easy to just go through that quest. The boss at the end of that quest might provide a minor challenge, but if I was a couple levels ahead of the recommended level, it was basically a walk in the park. When I got to the DLC, I was still a couple of levels ahead of the recommended level, but it definitely felt like I was beneath the recommended level. The enemies were just much tougher. In fact, there was one instance where there would be enemies that were much higher than the recommended level for the mission. And so I'm not really sure why that was. At times it made me feel like they wanted me to force me to play this co-op instead of playing by myself. That was a minor gripe. I was able to get through it. It just was a lot more difficult than I had become accustomed to in playing the original game itself. But overall, Borderlands 2 is a classic, all-time great game. If you've never checked it out, don't be like me and miss the boat. Make sure you check this out because it is an amazing game. Alright, next segment of the show we have Buck 'em Down. This is a segment of the show we buck down the foolishness and the ignorance in the gaming world today. And of course, got a chance yesterday to check out Microsoft's press conference at Gamescom. And I have to tip my hat to Microsoft. They had an amazing press conference, probably the best press conference I've seen between Gamescom and E3. This was a very, very impressive showing for Microsoft. First of all, they showed off some more multiplayer Halo 5. I'm really interested in Halo 5 for the multiplayer, which is a rare thing for me to say. I've played all the Halo games, loved all of them, but I've always loved the single player. Never really been big into the multiplayer of Halo. That may change. From what I've seen of the Halo multiplayer, I'm really intrigued, especially the Warzone. The Warzone seems like something different, and so I'm really interested to check out that as well. They also announced Halo Wars 2 is coming out, so that'll be another big game for Microsoft. They showed off early footage of Crackdown. That is going to be another big exclusive for Microsoft. From what I've seen, it definitely looks like a Crackdown game. It's definitely going to have the orb chasing in there like we always loved in the previous versions of the game. Everything is destructible from what they said. And from what they showed off, buildings, everything you see is destructible, which was kind of the draw of the original Crackdowns. The original Crackdown, the draw was to go around finding as many orbs as you can and just blow things up. Well, now in this new Crackdown, it looks like those same orbs are going to be there to chase down. But also, when we say blow things up, it looks like you can blow up everything. If it's in the game, you can destroy it. Also going to try to implement more multiplayer in that game, so it'll be interesting to see how that does as well. They also showed off Quantum Break. This is a game I'm very interested in, primarily because of the developer. The developer also developed Alan Wake, and Alan Wake was a game I really enjoyed. And so I've been having my eye on Quantum Break for a while. The gameplay elements look very good, look very intriguing. I'm also intrigued by the story. My only concern for this game is they are actually implementing a live action TV show type story within the game, and so I'm interested to see how they'll implement that. I'm not sure if it's going to be a standalone thing to where if you want to watch the story before you get into the game to make more sense, or if it's going to be after a chapter you'll have to sit through a television style episode to explain something to you. If it's the latter, I'm not really sure how that'll come across. To me, it could mess up the pacing of the game. To have to play a game and then sit down and watch 10 to 15 minutes of a television show could detract from actually wanting to play the game. When I want to play a game, I sit down and I play a game. If I want to watch television, I'll sit down and watch television. I'm not really sure how marrying those two together will go, but we'll see going forward. Microsoft also showed off another big exclusive, and that is Scalebound. Now, this game has me very, very intrigued. I didn't know a whole lot about Scalebound going into the Gamescom press conference, but from what I've seen of the short demo, I am very intrigued, and this goes to the top of my anticipated, not the very top, but towards the top of my 2016 most anticipated games if it does actually release in 2016. But Scalebound looks very interesting, very intriguing, so I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. Microsoft also showed off Forza 6. This game looks very, very good. Now, Forza may be late to the weather effect game, but it looks like they are setting the bar for weather effects. From what I've seen, the weather effects look absolutely gorgeous, and so Forza is going to be another huge first-party exclusive for Microsoft. This holiday season, Microsoft has the first-party exclusives on lock, and they also showed off Tomb Raider, which is another exclusive game for Microsoft, at least for a year, and Tomb Raider looks gorgeous as well. And so Microsoft has a very, very good holiday season coming up. What could be the deciding factor is something that I didn't think would be a big deal originally, and that is backwards compatibility. Now, when I first talked about backwards compatibility to E3, I said it was a big announcement, but I wasn't really sure how intriguing it was for gamers, because nowadays we have so many gamers that rely on GameFly for their games, or they buy and sell used games. Many gamers traded in their 360 and all their 360 games to buy their Xbox One. So I wasn't really sure how many people would actually use backwards compatibility. Even someone like me that has well over 100 360 games, and several of them I never completed, I don't know if I'll ever use backwards compatibility because I have so many newer games that I still need to play. And so I wasn't really sure if backwards compatibility would be a selling point. What Microsoft has done that has made it very intriguing and could make it a huge selling point is they are, for instance, with Gears of War Ultimate Edition. If you buy Gears of War Ultimate Edition, you will get access to all of the 360 Gears of War digital versions on the Xbox One when they become backwards compatible. If you buy Rainbow Six Siege, you'll get the 2 previous Rainbow Six games from the 360. You'll get those as a digital download on the Xbox One through backwards compatibility. And so this is very intriguing because as a gamer, me myself, I primarily game on the PlayStation 4. I had every intention of buying Rainbow Six Siege on my PlayStation 4, but I'm hesitant now because if I buy it on the Xbox One, I can get those 2 previous Rainbow Six games digitally through backwards compatibility. And so this could be a huge selling point to help move Xbox One. Because now, if you're looking at buying a new game, not only on the Xbox One side, not only are you going to get that game, but you could potentially get 1, 2, 3, 4 previous generation games that are now going to be playable on your Xbox One. That can be a huge selling point for Microsoft, and they have the potential to implement backwards compatibility in a way I didn't think about, and could be a game changer going forward. So once again, hats off to Microsoft. They had an amazing press conference. They really upped the ante this holiday season. I suspect they should have a huge holiday season with all the exclusives they have. It'll be interesting to see what Sony does going forward. Now, they did not have a press conference at Gamescom. Sony said they're going to have a huge presence at the Paris Games Week, which I believe is around Halloween. And so it'll be interesting to see how or what Sony does in their press conference. They're definitely going to have to come with something going into this holiday. Now, they have such a huge lead. I believe they sold well over 25 million consoles at this time. But at times it feels like they've gone into kind of prevent defense. Whereas Microsoft, because they started off so poorly, they have really been on the attack since launch to try to make up for those pre-launch E3 debacles, and Microsoft has really done a good job of going on the attack and really becoming a system that is now becoming a must-own system. And whereas Sony, not to take anything away from them because I love my PS4, and they definitely have great games over this as well, and definitely have great games on the horizon, it seems like Sony has been more of in a prevent defense and less on the attack, whereas Microsoft has definitely been on the attack since then. They're doing a great job of it. The Xbox One is definitely a must-own system if you don't have one already. And I'm really looking forward to the holiday season to play all those great exclusives on my Xbox One. Alright, that's all the time we got for this week's episode of Daily Operation. Once again, this has been DJ Illmatic, Daily Operation, episode 26. Once again, check us out at 8bitchimp.com for all that gaming flavor you savor. 8bitchimp.com. Also, check me out on YouTube and Twitch, DJ_Illmatic. On both YouTube and Twitch. Also hit me up on Twitter, DJ Illmatic23, no space, no underscore. That's all together. Hit me up on one or all 3 of them joints, and I will get back at you. Once again, this been DJ Illmatic, Daily Operation. Fat shout to my Organized Gamers family. Fat shout to 8bitchimp.com. Make sure you check us out. We out of here, y'all. 1.